Orderly room, I asked the first sergeant and I wanted to see the commanding officer, and he asked me, what for? I said, I want to ask him, what do I have to do to get on the Air Corps? Oh, he says, you really want to fly? I said, yes, sir. He says, okay. I called the first sergeant, he said, bring me his record. What is your name? I said, my name is Gilberto Rendon, sir. He said, what? I said, Gilberto Rendon. In English is Gilbert, with the O-N-N, Rendon is Rendon, or E-N-D-O-N. He said, bring me his records. So he brought the records in, and he opened his records to look at him. And when I was looking at him, he was going like this. He says, Private Rendon, I'm sorry, but you can't fly. I asked him, may I ask you why, sir? He said, you didn't have the education. He says, you only went to 3rd grade. He says, that's not high enough for you. I says, all right. He says, I'm sorry. So I was told to take a step back. First sergeant says, step back and you salute him. So I stepped back, salute him, and I walked out with my cap, and I was going out. I was almost crying out the door. And the first sergeant, Private Rendon, come here. What did he say? He said, I couldn't fly. He said, yeah, tell you why? I said, yes, because I didn't get the education. He said, well, okay, you'll be back here tomorrow at 9 o'clock. I said, well, you already, he said, it's an order. You'll be here tomorrow at 9 o'clock, period. He said, here. So he wrote a note and give it to your sergeant, a drill sergeant. I went back to my drill sergeant, and I gave him the note. The next day, the sergeant says, here, you better go down there and see the first sergeant. You better get out there because it's almost 9 o'clock. I got there. It's okay, Private Rendon, I want you to go in there. You talk to your commanding officer. I'm not going to tell you what to say. But if you want to fly that bad, you think of something. Well, what could I think? I was with a leg between my legs walking in there with him. So I walked in and I saluted him. He says, he was looking out the window, and then took his cap off and slammed it on the table. And he said, you here again? I told you couldn't fly, goddammit. He said, the guys are dying out there, you're wasting your time and wasting my time. Instead of being out there training. He said, what is your problem this time? I said, sir, I says, I would like to ask you a question, sir. What is it? Of course, I was scared. I was shaking. I said, sir, did you know how to drive a car when you were born? He says, of course not. Why did you learn? He said, I was taught. I said, all right, sir, you teach me. I can do anything any man can do. I said, I'm 21 years old, I know what I can do and I can't do. He said, you think you're that smart? Well, I don't think I am, sir, but I think I'm smart enough. He said, okay, I'll tell you what. You'll be here tomorrow at 8 o'clock in the morning, and I'm going to prove to you that you can fly. So I left. Next morning, I came back at 8 o'clock. And lo and behold, there was a lieutenant sitting and next to his desk. When I saw the wings, I got goosebumps. I saw the wings on him, Lieutenant. I don't know, Lieutenant, I can't remember. Anyway, he said, this is the private I was talking to you about. So he asked me, what is your name? I said, Private Rendon, sir. He said, you really want to fly? I said, yes, sir. He said, well, in order for you to fly, you will have to pass a lot of tests. I said, what kind of a test? Well, the multiple choice. He said, okay. He said, okay, you ready to start? I said, well, yes, sir. So we went into another room, and he had a stockbook this high. It took us 6 hours for tests. We stopped for lunch, came back, took our time. I filled up all my tests. When I finished, he said, okay, so you'll know in 2 days if you passed or not. So when I came back, when they called me 2 days later, he called me. And the order room, so I went over, and the first said, well, Private Rendon, you passed. I said, I did? He said, you passed everyone except administration, but the highest score you got was in communications. So you're going to end up going to radio school. So that's where I ended up going, to radio school. When I got there, the first day I got there was 11 o'clock, and they assigned me to my bunk, and there was some stuff on top of the bed. I said, well, somebody's here. The sergeant said, well, he's going to be leaving. Suppose here comes a guy from brushing his teeth and cleaning up, put his stuff. Did you graduate? He said, no. I said, you're leaving? He said, yes. Did you graduate? He said, no. I washed out. How much school did you have? He said, I had 2 years of college. I said to myself, what the hell am I doing here? So anyway, I started my school. And when I graduated from my school, the last day we took our test. And everybody wrote our test, and 75 was passing, and I got 73 on the final test. So when you don't pass the test, it take you, there was, I think 6 or 8 of us didn't pass it. So they took us out to the commanding officer, the communication officer, and to talk to each and one. So I talked to him, and I was the last one. He said, well, Private Rendon, can you tell me why you didn't pass? I said, sir, I did all I could. I said, I just did my best. I guess I just didn't get my grade school. You only got 73. I said, yes. I said, well, sir, how many questions had my test? How many questions did I miss? He said, hell, you missed 19. Approximately 19. I said, oh. I said, no, but how many did I miss that I answered? So he looked and said, you didn't miss any. I had them all right. He said, well, why didn't you keep going? You could have guessed it. The others you could have passed. I said, well, sir, if you were my skipper, would you want to have a radio operator who knew his job or somebody who's guessing at his work? He says to me, you got a point there, Private. He said, you go back to your barracks. So I left. When I got there, the corporal said, you know what, you passed. I graduated with the rest of them. And lo and behold, that was it. And so the rest of you know what we've been through. How many of you in the 15th Air Force? How many of you? 15th Air Force.
Great!
Over here.
Well, you know what it was all about. I was in the 15th Air Force. I flew 7 missions of Oplo Este. And 1 mission, Vienna. That was the worst one. That was worse than Oplo Este. We lost 24 bombers that day. I guess not. Well, anyway, gentlemen, that's about all I have to say.
What else?
God love you all. God love you all, you guys. You guys are 459 bomb, 759 squadron.
My eyes have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord. He is trampling out the villages where the grapes of wrath are sown. He has loosed the faithful lightning of